How falling back doesn't help. Okay, I've recently discovered that my wife had been secretly texting another man. I've already made the mistake of confronting her about it while only knowing the number of texts and who the number belonged to. I don't want to get too detailed, but I think a little background is required. My wife and I have been married for 17 years and have 4 wonderful children. I love my wife, but I actually was unfaithful to her almost 15 years ago. We were in a rut, and I was unhappy with the frequency of our physical relationship. It had gotten to the point that we had only slept together 4 times that whole year. I spent a lot of time feeding on videos. I was only searching for a release, not a relationship. I ended up meeting a worker that I found on Craigslist and received a good time. It wasn't great, I felt guilty and almost told my wife what I had done just to clear my conscience. I didn't have to. My wife found the emails between us and confronted me. We both broke down. She admitted she needed to put more of an effort into our physical relationship, and I knew I needed to put a lot more effort into our emotional relationship. I put in a lot of work and spent the next several months, maybe years, rebuilding her trust in me. She stuck by me, and we got through it and have been doing very well. Until recently. My wife has recently re-entered the workplace and has been making new friends and spending time with them between shifts. They work a couple hours in the AM, then off till mid-afternoon when they work a couple more hours. They've been going out to breakfast, and that now has led to her going out with the group after work as well. Not too often, but coupled with shopping with her BFF, her new workout classes, she's very dedicated and has lost over 60 pounds and looks really good, and typical girls' night out stuff. It started to weigh on my mind. For whatever reason, I started to just have this feeling that something was up. When she told me that her new friend was having a Halloween party but that she knew I probably didn't want to go since I didn't know anybody. It was a little odd, because normally she tries to talk me into going to these types of things, but this time it was almost as if she didn't want me to come. I said something to her about it and she said that, well, if you want, I can text you and see how long I'm going to stay, and after you get the younger kids to bed you could come out and meet me. We have 4 children, 2 youngsters and 2 teenagers, so we weren't abandoning our kids. The older ones babysit all the time. Later that night she texted me and asked if I was coming. I told her that I was planning on it but had kind of settled in and wasn't sure. I asked her how much longer she was staying and she said she wasn't sure. That there were only 3 people that she knew from work and blah, blah, blah. I got the impression that she wouldn't be there long enough to warrant the 20-minute drive out there. That was the last I heard from her until she came home at 2 a.m., almost 4 hours after we talked about her not staying much longer. I didn't confront her that night as I was pretty angry and just pretended to be asleep. The next morning, I tried to talk to her and asked her what happened. Why she came home so late. Why not a text saying, hey, I'm having fun now, going to stay for a while. She got defensive, and I got angry. I said that I thought something was going on. She said absolutely not. I stormed off and we didn't really talk for 2 days. During that time, I started snooping around and looked at our phone bill and noticed how much she had been texting. I downloaded the bill into a spreadsheet format and was able to sort them by number, and one number showed up more than any other. In 1 month, she sent and received over 200 texts to this one number. I picked up her phone that night and found out that there wasn't one text from that number still on her phone. She was deleting them. That night, she was getting ready for girls' night out. I confronted her and asked if she was coming home. She acted like I was crazy, and so I asked her if there was anything going on in her life that she would be ashamed of me finding out. She said absolutely not. I said, okay, I want to believe you, but first I need to know whose phone number is this? Because she received over 25% of all her texts that monked to that number. I asked who this person was. I already knew from looking at her contacts, and she fumbled around. She was flustered, but she pretended not to know whose number that was. Finally, she admitted it was a guy from work, but they were just buddies and that he is like an older brother to her. I asked her why she would delete the messages if they were so innocent, and she didn't have any answer. After several hours of crying and her denying she was doing anything physical, and even denying any emotional connection, I told her that I wanted to believe her, and that I wanted her phone to try and recover a transcript of the texts as that would help me see that there wasn't anything to them. She didn't balk and offered me her phone, but did say that I may see some mildly flirty texts, but again they were just buddies and she had nothing to hide. I am still trying to understand that if she truly didn't have anything to hide, why is she deleting his text messages? I used a program called Text Decipher to try and recover her deleted text messages, and of all 200 plus messages, I was only able to recover 54 of the earliest texts. They do seem to only be friendly, and she admitted to some flirty text, but I was unable to recover any of them. That is where we are now. I know I love my wife. She is the most important person on this planet to me, but while she admits that she shouldn't have been texting another guy and certainly shouldn't have been hiding from me, she doesn't consider what she did as all that bad. She says nothing physical or intimate happened, and I do believe her. I'm trying to figure out how to heal, but the one thing that is still bothering me is how defensive she got when I told her that I thought the other man's wife should know about this secret relationship too. That I would want to know, and that if she was in her position, she would want to know this was going on. She's begging me to not notify her. I'm not trying to humiliate my wife, but when she is so casual with telling me how there was nothing really there, but so adamantly against filling in the other man's wife, it causes doubt. I want to forgive my wife and am working through that process. I just don't want to be blind and move on if she is not being honest with me. Yes, this other man works at the same place, but they don't see each other unless they make an effort to. He has been part of the breakfast club, and she has admitted that once or twice they were the only two that showed up for breakfast. She admits that she felt awkward about sitting in public place with another guy eating breakfast and made sure that it hadn't happened since. I do know she was in fact at that Halloween party and that he was not. She admits that she did text him from the party to ask if he was coming, but said he never responded. The evidence I recovered from the phone seems to back up her story. She has an iPhone. I am relatively tech savvy. I know her Apple ID and password, so I can track her location via Find My iPhone. I ran to Cipher and was able to recover 54 messages from the OM. They all seemed to be just friendly, but the odd thing is I was able to recover the oldest of the texts to the OM, but unable to recover the newest texts. If there was a documented progression in the relationship, I can't see it, which bothers me. As for our physical life, it has been okay lately. Again, I started to feel like it was lacking a bit. I know that her emotional happiness directly correlates to how often we have slept together. I also am very aware of my responsibility in making her feel loved and appreciated. I would love to say we are at it a couple times a day, but the reality is more like 3 to 4 times a month, which she says is fine with her, while I'd prefer more of a 2 to 3 times a week routine. Since the confrontation, she's been going out of her way for bonding 4 of the last 7 days, and she has been the instigator, which is refreshing and certainly not normal. Since I've already confronted her, she has said she is sorry and wants me to trust her, and is willing to hand over her passwords, eliminate contact with the OM, and allow me to set all new boundaries to rebuild that trust. My problem is the fact that she lied to me in the first place, and I didn't have any evidence of anything physical. I'm more concerned that she may just be telling me she's sorry and admitting what I actually have evidence, that she was texting another guy and was hiding from me. However, if that is all it was, then I can work through those issues from what she has said and seems willing to do. Comment: I would say the likelihood of you being played is about 80%. She's trickle-truthing you, and you are nice-guying as fast as you can. Nobody ever nice their way out of an affair. A few people have claimed to do it, but in the long run, it didn't work. They just rug sweep harder and pretend it worked. Women are not wired up to respect weak men. Not putting you down, my friend, just telling you something you will learn for yourself eventually. Hopefully before the real heartache. People would give their right arm to have their spouse react this way when first confronted. She was remorseful, agreed to full transparent, which includes all passwords without complaint, agreed to full no contact, and agreed to let you set new boundaries. It sounds like you caught it early before the fog got too thick. If your goal was to get proof of infidelity so that you can use it in a divorce, you confronted too early. If your goal was to stop it early before something unforgivable happened, you handled it right. You were strong. Many could learn from you. One new boundary that I would suggest is that she is not allowed to delete anything from other men without showing it to you first. Tell her that going forward, deleted texts and emails will be assumed to have been inappropriate. Also tell her that she is not to use any texting apps other than the one that can be tracked in the phone bill, and that she is to make you aware of all email accounts, Skype and other such accounts. Years later, married 21 years, 4 kids 20, 18, 13 and 11. Back in 2018 I found out my wife was texting a man from her work. Not sure what made me start looking other than a gut feeling something wasn't right. She claims that it never got romantic and that she didn't think of him that way. I tried to explain that it was still a breach of trust and that she was doing it secretly. That she was deleting the texts so I wouldn't see them and that a few were kind of flirty was enough to count as an emotional affair. We ended up going to counseling for a while, agreed to be more transparent with our lives, and things got a bit better. Recently I started to get those same feelings. Noticed the wife had changed the passcode on her phone and had installed one of those privacy screen protectors that block anyone from seeing your screen unless they are looking directly at it. I tried to confront her and of course she denied anything, tore off the screen protector in disgust and told me her new password while rolling her eyes. I tried to ask her if everything was okay. Was there anything I needed to know? And she said no. I couldn't shake the feeling though and noticed her being distant and our physical life was definitely suffering. She claimed a low drive and that she was suffering from chronic migraines. I decided to do some snooping but she wouldn't put her phone down. It went with her to the bathroom, shower, everywhere. So, I decided to use a hidden camera in our bedroom as that is where she goes to talk on the phone. Figured I'd get to see and hear her and maybe figure out what was going on. 2 days later I had sent her an email about Victoria's Secret having a sale and that she should go buy something to show me later. She never responded, but at 5 p.m. as I was leaving the office I got a notification that my camera had detected movement. I hit the record button and figured I'd look at it later. I ended up getting stuck by a train and figured I'd pull up the camera feed, and there was my wife being herself while looking at videos on her phone. I've seen enough videos to recognize someone using it. It wasn't interactive, as she wasn't texting anyone, just scrolling those videos. Unfortunately, I had left the fan on in the room and couldn't quite make out the audio. So, I hurried home, went straight to the bedroom and tried to initiate. She claimed she didn't feel well and that she was getting sick. I guess something about my reaction made her realize I didn't believe her and she became suspicious. Later that night I went to confront her about her alone time when I was clearly interested in sleeping together, but before I could talk, she told me she found my hidden camera and was furious. Obviously, she felt betrayed and that I violated her privacy. I did feel bad, but also felt somewhat justified in that my low-drive spouse wasn't really having issues with her drive, more that she was having issues with sharing them with me. It took several days, but she finally started speaking to me again and things got a bit better. I agreed to not spy on her anymore and she agreed to be more transparent. Well, a couple days went by and I tried to initiate bonding again and she turned me down. When I got home from work that night, it was clear that she had masturbated again that afternoon. I didn't have a camera set up but realized to tell from the last video on something she did every time she went into the bedroom for some me time. Turns out over the next 2 weeks, she masturbated 5 times. During that time, I tried to initiate 3 times and was turned down twice and was given something else. On both days that she turned me down, she later masturbated. I can't explain how bad that hurts to be turned down by your wife to realize she wants bonding, just not with you. It got the better of me and I decided I needed to spy on her again. This time I didn't use a camera but found a way to track the websites she visits through our wireless router. It would tell me the website she visited, just not the specific page. So, I could see she visited 7 or 8 different pages on her video site of choice. I was able to go back and cross those dates with the dates I suspected she masturbated and was able to confirm every single one. Turns out that I also noticed that she was visiting a site called Marco Polo and Snapchat. Snapchat I was familiar with as my kids use it often. The Marco Polo is similar to a walkie-talkie, only it works with video. So, I was keeping track of that when one day I came home and her laptop was left on the kitchen counter and was still open. I clicked on it and her Facebook page and email were both still open. I did a quick search on Facebook and the first name I searched was the guy she was texting back in 2018. Sure enough, he popped right up. She was now using Facebook Messenger to talk with him. Has been chatting with him for quite some time. I checked her email and tried searching for things like Ashley Madison and Tinder. There was an email from Tinder, but it could have been spam, maybe. Decided to confront her on it. Told her I needed to talk and asked to see her phone. She hesitated but I said it was important. I proceeded to check her Snapchat but didn't really know what to look for. Also opened the Marco Polo app, but again wasn't familiar enough with it to know how to look. That's when I realized I had jumped the gun and wasn't as prepared as I needed to be. No matter, I still had the Facebook stuff. Asked her if she's been talking to anyone that she shouldn't be. She said no. I asked if she's been talking to anyone I wouldn't approve of. Again, no. Went to her messenger and lo and behold all traces of her talking with the previous OM were gone. Good thing I had taken a pic of her laptop screen with the messages up to and from the OM. Her face changed significantly when I showed her that photo. She admitted she has been talking to him. He's her friend and she's not doing anything wrong. I said secretly messaging the other guy that we've had an issue with in the past and then lying about it isn't doing something wrong. She said those are my issues, not hers. She then went on to explain that he had a mini stroke and hasn't been able to work and has moved out of his home, blah, blah, blah. That's when many other sites she has been visiting made sense. We both have been relatively conservative politically. Not really Republicans because we do often vote for Democrat candidates. But this other man is a raging liberal, make that progressive lunatic. You know, 72 Bernie Sanders for president signs in his yard, always trying to pick a fight with anyone that disagrees with him politically. Well, that explains why my wife is visiting sites like Democracy Now!, Southern Poverty Law Center, etc. So, she might not be having any romantic conversations, but they are obviously having in-depth intellectual conversations. I also think they are doing more, but only have proof of one questionable post. Something about if you aren't being treated right, maybe you've marked yourself down. Get off the clearance rack and get behind the glass where they keep the valuables. Anyway, so I'm at home surfing the web and I get a screen pop-up saying the site I'm trying to visit has been blocked. Something called Meet Circle, Tom. So, I'm curious and go check it out and it turns out that it is an app offered by Disney that lets you track your kids' web usage. Turns out my wife has downloaded this app and has been tracking my internet usage. So that is why I see a marriage help book that I looked at popping up on our shared Amazon account's browsing history the next day. She's keeping tabs on me. So, my first thought is to play with her a bit and go visit some video sites or something super creepy just to mess with her. Figure that's for someone that's in a much better place than I am with my wife. So today, I check up on her before lunch. She gets to come home for an hour or so between her responsibilities at the school. Sure enough, she's on Snapchats and then within 1 minute back on a video site. We did have slept together on Saturday morning though, so whatever. But shortly after she gets done, she emails me about how she forgot to talk to me about her girlfriends planning a surprise trip in October for one of their birthdays and that she'd be gone from Friday afternoon till Sunday night. Do I mind if she goes? I'm trying to figure out if I confront her about the Snapchat and masturbation, and she's trying to get out of town on a girls' night out. So does anyone have any advice, other than the normal she's cheating on you and always has, dump that floozy, etc.? I've got that covered, just not sure how I should proceed. Do I insist on counseling? I really don't want a divorce. I love my wife and want to have a stable home for my kids. I just know that I'll never survive if this is the best I can expect for the rest of my life. Comment: she is having an affair, and the odds of it not being physical are almost 0%. You have made every single mistake that you could make in dealing with this. If you have to have proof before you divorce her, then you need to hire a PI and have her followed. If you don't need any more proof, you need to file for divorce and have her served. But whatever, the reason that she will not sleep with you is that she does not want to cheat on her BF. Time to file. You need to talk to a lawyer, just see where you stand in your state. All states are different and some are better than other regarding infidelity. You may need proof. Knowledge is power. OP responds: I'm just not sure what I want to do. Part of me would love to just blow it all up, threaten to start the divorce process, and see if that shakes her at all. I just don't know that I can abandon my kids like that. I don't want to be a dad 50% of the time. So, am I resigned to have a miserable marriage so I can be a good father to my kids? I couldn't take it anymore. The constant suspicion, the lingering feeling that something wasn't right. It was time for a confrontation. I decided to gather all the evidence I had collected over the past few weeks and confront her about everything. I wanted to know the truth, even if it hurt me. The day finally arrived when I couldn't hold it in any longer. I sat my wife down, my heart racing, and presented her with all the evidence. The deleted texts, the frequent visits to various websites, the secret conversations with her coworker, the masturbation, everything. I was prepared for the worst, but I needed to know the truth. As I laid everything out in front of her, her face went pale. She couldn't deny it any longer. She admitted to talking to her coworker, but still insisted that it was nothing more than a friendship. I could see the guilt in her eyes, but she continued to defend herself. I told her that I couldn't live like this anymore. The lies, the secrets, and the constant feeling of being betrayed were tearing me apart. I said that if we were to continue our marriage, we needed to go back to counseling and work on rebuilding the trust that had been shattered. My wife agreed to go back to counseling, but things didn't improve. In fact, they seemed to get worse. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was still hiding something from me. I knew that if we were ever going to move forward and have a chance at rebuilding our relationship, I had to take a stand. One day, after yet another argument, I finally made the difficult decision to ask her to leave. I couldn't live in constant suspicion, and it was clear that our home was no longer a happy, safe place for either of us. It was a heart-wrenching decision, but I knew it was the only way to protect myself and our children from further pain. With my wife gone, I was left to face the reality of our crumbling marriage. I knew that a divorce was imminent, and I began the process of emotionally preparing myself for what was to come. As I navigated the complex world of divorce, I felt a mixture of pain, anger, and sadness. I couldn't believe that the person I had loved and trusted for so long could betray me in such a way. The divorce process was long, drawn out, and emotionally draining. The negotiations over assets, child custody, and alimony seemed to drag on forever. I felt like I was constantly being attacked, and the stress of the situation took a heavy toll on my mental health. I found myself questioning everything about our marriage, wondering how I had been so blind to the signs that something was wrong. The divorce was finalized, and life began to settle into a new normal. The pain of the betrayal and the end of my marriage was still very present, but I knew I had to move forward for the sake of my children and my own well-being. In the months that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. I spent time with my kids, worked on my career, and even began dating again. Slowly but surely, I started to heal and find happiness in my new life. As for my ex-wife, I learned that she had continued her relationship with her coworker. Although it was difficult to accept, I knew that I had made the right decision in ending our marriage. Our lives had diverged, and there was no going back. My comment: it's better to not deal with damaged goods. You are better this way. It will start off bad, but it will end off better. Story 2. How can I not give a crap about what my ex thinks about my dating life? Quick backstory. I ended a 3-year relationship 6 months ago after catching my ex-GF on Tinder and other dating sites. I was the dumper and had other valid reasons to do so. Yet, I still went through the cycles of grief of the breakup months after. Started dating a month later being newly single. I thought a month was good enough time to heal. Took a break from dating 2 to 3 months in as I realized I needed to work on myself and wasn't completely over my former long-term relationship. 6 months since the breakup, I've come a long way, and I feel fine going back out into the dating world. However, I am confronted with an issue that is self-inflicted. 1. My fear that my ex's belief that I am a commitment phobe and unrealistic partner will be confirmed once I hop back onto Tinder. If 6 months later I am out dating again, it will confirm that since I'm still searching for a relationship, that I was the problem and not her. Quite honestly, I would say we contributed to our problems, but that's a whole other discussion. Anyways, I don't want my ex-GF and her friends, my former friends, to perceive that I am a failure at relationships and have a good laugh at my expense. It's the whole grass isn't always greener on the other side bit. Apparently, I still care that I want them to think that I must be happily in a relationship since I haven't been on Tinder for the last 4 months. I want her to realize that I wasn't a commitment phobe. You see, when we were together, she made comments about me being a commitment Phoebe and insinuated that I am the problem after she kept tabs on my last 2 girlfriends who happened to get married not long after me. I strongly believed at the time it wasn't me. Things just didn't work out between my exes. I knew if I found the right girl, I would make that commitment to marry. My ex-GF thought I was being unrealistic about waiting to improve our relationship before marriage. She thought I was making excuses, said I'll never find anyone I am describing as an ideal partner. So, she would bring this up from time to time, which started to make me feel more guilty and my self-esteem continued to fall. I know I can't control what others think, but I can control allowing them to see or not see me on Tinder or other dating sites. By not being on dating sites, she would think I would likely be in a relationship, which proves I'm not a commitment Phoebe. However, in reality this only keeps me from finding someone. Self-sabotaging. Crazy. A friend said I can just go on a different dating site and avoid her altogether. And that's true, but I don't want to run away from my fears. I want to conquer them. And on a logical level, I get it. I can't control what others think. They may even likely think that I am a toxic commitment Phoebe no matter what. I just don't want to give a crap. But this fear is still preventing me from having the life I want to have and on my terms. This is an isolated issue about what others think, because I can definitely say that generally I have never really cared what others think. I did what I thought was best for me and would do it. Their criticisms may bug me a little at first, but I felt secure in what I was doing and did it anyways. But with my ex-GF, I still give a crap. Ugh, maybe it's my ego I am protecting. But of all the people in my life, why in the hell am I giving her the power over me 6 months later? And lastly, how do I even know she's currently on Tinder and would see me on there? Well, here's the irony. I think it's irony. I learned through a friend, and I did not ask about my ex at all, that last week my ex-GF had to be rescued from a bad Tinder date and that she was seriously messed up. So apparently, she doesn't give a crap being seen on Tinder. Hell, she didn't care enough since she was on Tinder when we were together. It's why I broke up with her. Any suggestions how to work past this kind of fear? Or is Tinder just not worth it? Should I just avoid Tinder altogether for now and try another platform? Or should I face my fears head on? Is it changing my mindset, and if so, how? I may be stuck on giving a crap what she thinks about me, but it certainly has nothing to do with me wanting her back, etc. But it looks like I still care about something in some capacity because I am caring what she thinks, and I know that needs to stop. As for my friends who still have connections with her, yeah, I do need to cut them off or flat out tell them I don't want to hear anything about her if I stick with their friendship. The 2 times she's been brought up by my friend in conversation, it brought back thoughts and feelings about the relationship for the next few days, and I'd rather forget altogether. I'm sure one day her name will be brought up and she'll just be somebody that I used to know. Nothing more. So, I guess I'm not 100% through it. Damn, I like the suggestions of staying busy, making goals, and enjoying the journey. I have added new things in my life such as dance and bass guitar lessons. Would like to do volunteering but haven't found the time for it. And making friends has been hard. I've lost most of my friends in my breakup and others have moved away. So, I end up being alone at times, and that's when it seems I get like this and end up back on tam. I haven't put more effort in this, but now I'm starting to feel fed up with me dragging my feet. As for dating, I really didn't want anything serious, hence the Tinder site, as it's usually a hookup site. But I have no problem going back to placing all the focus back on me. There are still certain things I want to get to the root of the matter, my foo in particular. So, it's all good prodigal. I admit I can get a little defensive at times, but I need to hear others' blunt responses too. It's been a little over a month since my last IC. Time to go again. My comment: is she the best woman you've dated in some way? Usually, if you feel like your other prospects are a step down, you'll be more obsessed with an ex. Likewise, the best way to get over an ex is to date someone better so you can logically understand that you traded up. If you aren't sure where to meet people, you need to expand your social circle. That can be done by either hanging out with people that know a lot of people and are good at introductions, or finding a hobby that you'll meet people at. There are running and biking groups, or other sports groups, that generally tend to have large memberships. I'm a member of a kayaking group and a running group, and I'm investigating a beginner sailing group for next spring.